everybody. Welcome to the America First Warehouse here in Long Island, New York. Thank you, Joe DeBox, for being our proprietor, making this all happen here in Long Island. And this is going out to the rest of the country on this Thanksgiving week podcast of On the Right Side. And I am Steve Levy, your co-host. I'm the former Suffolk County executive here on Long Island, a New York State Assembly member, and the executive director of the Center for Cost-Effective Government. So happy to have two guests. Well, one guest is John Neary, who
John Rainey.
John Rainey. I'm a little dyslexic. I flip them all the time, John Rainey, who I should know, who was my most incredible intern at the Center for Cost-Effective Government, graduate of the master's program in political science at Stony Brook University. Welcome again, John.
It's good to be back.
Okay. And, of course, handing it off now to the one, the only co-host of the On the Right Side podcast, Real America Voice legend, the man who's got White House credentials, has his own show every Saturday morning, the one, the only David Zier.
Yeah, my mother said they broke the mold and I had a face for radio, but here I am on TV. It's great to be with you guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Indeed.
I went to the town the other day and the lady behind the counter says, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Okay, whatever. But I'm very excited to be here today. So much going on. We got a lot to discuss.
Ooh, do we?
And I will be at the Pentagon all next week covering Hegseth and 20 members of the Department of War for several days down there, which is very exciting.
Oh, well, you're going to have to get into with him what we're going to get into in an upcoming segment. Mark Kelly, Slotnick, all these traitors who were on video, pre-done video, telling our military, you don't have to listen to Trump on his illegal orders. We're going to have fun with that, right there?
Absolutely. And, what's going on is guys are actually acting out online, and they're going to screw up their whole careers because of this, directive from these the seditious
Well,
six.
we're going to get into it in depth. But first, I teased a little bit with the with my email yesterday for people to tune in, because I've got a clip that we're going to show. Two amazing 5-point blips from two of the biggest liberals you'll find in the media. One, Bill Maher, from Real Time Bill Maher at HBO. Big-time lib, who has been exhibiting common sense over the last year or two, telling his friends on the left, hey, you guys are going way too far with this woke crap. But he had a stellar 5-minute new rules, and we're going to take a 2-minute snippet of that, where he's telling his younger Democratic audience, don't be so quick to embrace Mamdani and socialism, because really it sucks. This is Bill Maher saying this. Better than I could have ever said it. Guys from the booth, can we show that clip? Let's see if we can go to it. Here we go.
Problem is, Gen Z thinks socialism's wired and capitalism's tired and billionaires are what's for dinner. And who can blame them? If you're 30 and still sharing a bathroom with roommates, capitalism isn't working for you. People will reject any economic system where there's strange hair on the soap. No one wants to be approaching middle age and still writing their name on food before they put it in the fridge. So they're quiet quitting capitalism and texting socialism that they're down to fuck. Thing is, socialism will fuck you. Because socialism, to put it simply, just doesn't work and has never worked. Like Kevin Federline. I know the kids think that stuff that happened before their appearance on the planet didn't really happen, but it did. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chavez's socialism for the 21st century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century or any century, a fucking mess. It turned one of Latin America's richest countries into one of its poorest. Low wages, high inflation, shortages, outages, 8 million people fleeing. If you think New York can somehow reinvent this wheel, you're in for a rude awakening.
This is a liberal who said this. Right on. I mean, we've got to get this out, John.
An atheist liberal.
Yes. To every young person you know.
Well,
you're just off the campus.
I think you see with Maher here, you said he's one of the biggest libs on television. He used to be. What he finds now is that he's been left behind by the left. He's not left anymore. The constant march leftward of what he once was the vanguard of, he found himself left behind, and now he sees the insanities that go off the deep end of the left, and he's responding to it.
He still says outrageous things.
He does.
He does. I'm not contesting
glimmers
that.
of hope. We can work on it.
Right.
He's been that way with wokeism as well.
I think after his dinner with Trump, that impacted him a lot.
Yeah,
Because
but
he
even
changed
before
his-
that,
he changed his view about of who Trump was, because they had spats for many years before that. But when they sat down at the White House, he was very, very impressed.
Well, and speaking of Thanksgiving, I mean, he last week he talked about the craziness of the left, the intolerance, the so-called tolerant ones. They won't go to Thanksgiving dinner with their family members if they don't see eye to eye politically. Conservatives don't do that.
Yeah, wasn't he attacking Kimmel's wife too? For,
Well,
destroying relations?
that's because Jimmy Kimmel's wife was saying she sent out an email to her friends and family. Here's reasons why you should vote against Trump as an ultimatum, and if you don't, then I disown you. So he told her, "You're the problem."
Well, the politics of the left are fundamentally illogical. He built himself up as this character that was a logical, atheist, left-leaning liberal person. But the politics of the left are really, in truth, the politics of envy.
Yeah.
Be that economic envy,
Well,
or
he said,
cultural envy,
eat the
or
rich.
historical envy.
Absolutely right. And there was another fabulous snippet that you have to go online to find, folks. Fareed Zakaria, who is a very far left CNN contributor. And he's constantly pounding against the right and Trump, mostly on international matters, but domestic as well. But David, this was hot stuff. He was up there saying, hey, inflation is really bad, but you know where it's worse?
Democratic
cities and states, because of their policies. This is the Democrat, Zakaria, saying this. You look at every blue city. They don't know how to manage. Their costs are out of control. Their crime is out of control. Unaffordability is a factor of the left.
Well, with Zakaria, even a clock is right twice a day. And I've been all over the country with the Trump campaign. At every blue city I went to has 3 times the crime rate, 3 times the violent crime rates. No matter where you go, whether you're in Fayetteville or you're in Charlotte or you're in Raleigh or you're in Asheville. What a dump Asheville is, by the way. The liberals destroyed it. The San Francisco of the South, right in the middle of the Bible.
Sounds like you're running for mayor of Asheville, just like that woman in Tennessee who's running for Congress in Nashville and beat the hell out of Nashville.
They pulled the Gavin Newsom. When Trump came there, they cleaned up the streets and they took all the homeless. They
Not
put them on
Trump,
the other side.
she.
No. When she went
came.
to San Francisco,
Yeah, right.
when Trump went to Asheville, I covered it, and they took all the homeless zombies. They want no police. They want reparations. They want all this crap. It's like a liberal blue city. But they took all the homeless and they put them through the other side of Tunnel Road. So when you came out of the city to go to my hotel, I had people sleeping in the woods next to my hotel room, right outside of Denny's. Zombies walking up and down the street. It's a hellhole.
It's because everybody knows what you need to do to solve the problems at hand. It's just that they're fundamentally fundamentally unwilling to do them until it makes them look bad. And the reason being because they believe in the tabula rasa, the blank slate,
Right.
which has been thoroughly debunked. That's a utopian theory. People are not all the same. And
not
you need to
only
treat
that-
people
And the
differently.
degenerates.
Yeah, you need to treat people differently
but
in
the
order to have a
Marxists-
functioning society. It needs to be, you need to have the proper application of law. And the proper application of law is the proper application of force in some cases, which is unacceptable to a utopian mind.
Well, the Marxists like Brandon Johnson in Chicago and Mamdani. Okay, they believe that criminals are not responsible
Root
for their own
cause.
behavior. They are a victim of the capitalist system that makes them hit little old ladies over the head and take
Yeah.
their money, which leads us to, finally seeing the light. You got J.D. Pritzker saying, oh, well, maybe after that creep who was arrested 73 times, lit this poor innocent young woman on fire, maybe we should revisit these bail laws, okay? Where the hell were you, man? For the last, 5 years, where were you when Trump was saying we'll go in there and clean it up like we did in Memphis, like we did in D.C.? David, take us out into 30 seconds here.
Every blue city is high crime, high taxes, social services on every corner, defund the police, reparations, LGBTQA paradises. It's like Dante's Inferno.
And yet they're voting for them. I can't believe it. We have to have a segment just on the psychological aspect of people voting against their own interests. Come back with us. We're going to talk about Fannie Willis and her lawsuit. Got the kibosh today. Be back in 2 minutes.
So I have an emergency. Okay.
You've worked hard and saved, but inflation and increased money supply are eroding your buying power. Protect and grow your wealth with physical gold and silver. Sound Money. With a Sound Money wallet, your wealth stays in your control. Buy fractionally, vault securely, ship directly, and instantly liquidate your gold and silver at the highest buyback price in the industry. Real money, real ownership. Visit tafwsoundmoney.info or scan the QR code and start securing your financial future today.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
Corporate transfer. Fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Hey, gang, welcome back on the Right Side podcast here at the America First Warehouse. Hey, if you guys, I'm Steve Levy, your co-host, former assemblyman and Suffolk County executive. If you saw some of those commercials in the break, one of them I'm going to shout out to you as well. I actually saw that commercial and bought into it. It's the purchase of gold, and a lot of people think, it's too high, it's too right now. I said that to myself 3 years ago.
4,100 today.
Yeah, I wish I bought 3 years ago when I thought it was too high. I didn't do it, and I finally did it. So if you want to do it too, check it out. It's the America First Warehouse, soundmoney.com, but it's TAFW, soundmoney.com. Start getting involved in gold like I did. I know I'm not going to regret it. Even if it goes down a bit, it always comes back up because people are fearful of what's going to be happening long-term economically. Anyway, let's, which one do we want to go with? How about
Fannie Willis.
Let's do Fannie. Let's do our friend Fannie, our girl Fannie Willis, who had, talk about timely, we're live, 2 o'clock here. And David Zare, who is our co-host from Real America Voice,
Real America's Voice, yeah.
fill us in on what happened today where Fannie Willis down in Georgia, the DA who had conflicts up the wazoo with her boyfriend going after Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, and a ton of lawyers, got dumped because of conflicts of interest. They brought in a real prosecutor who evaluated the case, and today he gave it the kibosh, David.
Yeah.
Long time coming, huh?
Yeah, Skandalakis, I believe his name is. 12 days ago, they announced that he was coming on to take over the case for Fannie Willis, and now they dropped it. The good news is that Fannie Willis is starting a page on X called Only Fannie. But, listen, her tryst with Nathan Wade and then him making like $750,000 on the prosecutor, the whole thing stunk from the top down from the beginning.
Fannie on the loose. I'll tell you, I did an article for Newsmax on this a while ago, talking about, all of these cases against Trump were bogus. Maybe the only one that had some legs were the ones with the documents, but that's going to be thrown out as well because he had the power.
Oh, there's new indictments coming down against a lot of people in the government on that.
Smith and others.
Yeah.
But speaking of Willis, the reason why that was such a bogus, malicious prosecution is it's the first time in the history of America that the use of alternative electors was criminalized. And what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
What's alternative electors you're saying? Well, if I said fake electors, you'll understand what I mean, because that's the term that the mainstream liberal media placed on alternative electors. Alternative electors, it's a concept in the law, and it's been used many times, including the presidential election of 1876, where Samuel Tilden and Rutherford B. Hayes, who became our president, were in a tussle over the legitimacy of the outcome of the election. They both put in their alternative electors, and it was worked out. John Kennedy inserted alternative electors
used by Democrats
back in 1960 against Richard Nixon, but only here when Donald Trump said, hey, we want to put up alternative electors, let it go through the court system, but when the courts hash it out, in the end, we'll let the court determine which electors are the proper ones. Only Donald Trump was prosecuted for using alternative electors, bogus from the start. These people lost their law licenses. They've been bankrupted by this woman, Fannie Willis. Thank God they're now off the hook, as they should have been. It should have never been brought up in the first place. John, you been following this at all, or you have any thoughts on the poetic justice of this outcome?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the legislative interference that has been the playbook over the last 10 years now. Circumventing the will of the people via just legalese, just case and case and, fraudulent, everything that they can throw at the books
Alvin Bragg case
to gum up the system and circumvent the will of the people.
Amazing.
Which is a common playbook by them in pretty much every issue, but it's been especially bold here.
I mean, you think about this, what they've done to Trump. You had a woman from the 1990s who accuses him of rape, at a department store when she admits she saw him, liked him, invited him into a dressing room, no witnesses, and she gets this $100 million settlement on this he said, she said matter. Then you had a judge saying that Donald Trump should have valued his Mar-a-Lago estate at $18 million. You're in real estate, David. How much is that valued?
About $1 billion, at least. I just got back from Palm Beach. They're knocking down $180 million homes to build $180 million homes on 2 acres. On 2 acres. 3 acres. There's a patch of sand that's 2 acres right down the road from Mar-a-Lago. It's just sand. It's $200 million. Bezos bought a house for $40 million. It's only 10,000 feet on 2 acres. Mar-a-Lago is on 30 acres on the Intercoastal Highway. It's the Marjorie Post Intercoastal Waterway. It's on the ocean as well. It's the Marjorie Post historic serial magnate family's property, and it has 56 bedrooms, easily worth $1 billion all day long.
Well, my prediction, that eventually gets thrown out, as will the Alvin Bragg case, which convoluted all of these different theories, which he refused to prosecute early on because they said it wouldn't hold up, but then he got pressured from his leftist flank to do it. And boy, you talk about malicious prosecution. Those are just 3 such examples. All right, let's segue here, because David, you were talking about going down to the Pentagon next week or within the month, and something that happened this past week, I thought was something I would never see in my lifetime. You had Congress members and senators on the Democratic side looking into a camera, reading a script that was prepared by their operatives, telling members of the intelligence agencies and the military, you know, you don't really have to follow those orders from the commander-in-chief. If you think they might be illegal, you have a lot of Republicans responding, this is sedition. This is traitorous. This is breaking down the chain of command. And now you got, I'm so glad Pete Hegseth of the Department of Defense, War, whatever you want to call it, is saying, we're not going to let this lie. We're going to investigate whether this guy, Kelly, the senator, should be brought up on charges and court-martialed for this insubordination.
Well, it's an outcropping of their system of alternative authority that they get things done by, be it with the independent, the bodies which had acted independently underneath the executive branch but weren't commanded by the president, that had been reined in, whether it be USAID. This is just one of the many heads of the Hydra by which they get everything done. It's by, ironically, non-democratic means.
But can a military survive where everybody's using their own subjective determination as to whether to follow an order?
So only one of the 6 as service member, Mark Kelly, could be brought up on sedition, which may be an issue, right, or court-martial.
Because even though he's retired, he's still he's getting his pension, and he's still can be activated at any time.
The other one, what's her name?
Slotnick.
Alyssa Slotkin, right?
Slotkin, you got it right.
You know, she's a former CIA officer. She's not susceptible to military jurisdiction, and the other 4 aren't as well. But there's cases now where guys are going on line who are in the military who hate Trump, and they're actually crossing that line. And, you know, because of this instigation by the left, they're going to cause valued military members, whatever their political beliefs are, to lose their whole careers. So they're guilty of you know, promoting at a minimum, if not treasonous or seditious, you know, but they're promoting, you know,
insubordination.
Insubordination.
Yeah. So, and look, again, the president has a tendency to overreact and get a little too flippant where he's talking about the death penalty. He wasn't advocating the death penalty, just saying that they could be subject to it.
They can't point out to anything that he
illegal.
said that was illegal.
Well, even, I call it Slotnick. Slotkin had said that, well, they're just doing some legal gymnastics on it, which is all...
Even Joe Scarborough called out the left.
Absolutely. So, look, they're not getting the death penalty. They're not going to jail. But I'm glad that The screws are being turned to let these guys know you can't get away with this. You just can't go out there flippantly and say this stuff. It's proving that so many of these Democrats, they hate Donald Trump more than they love their country. They hate him more than they do the idea of maintaining some kind of cohesiveness within the military. It's disgusting what they did. Look, we're not saying these people are going to lose their jobs over it, but let them be shamed. And good for Pete Hegseth for saying, you just can't say this and get away with it without any kind of repercussions. We're going to look into whether or not there's some kind of penalty you pay for this type of insubordination that he is encouraging.
You can't imagine, what's going on today. And, these people want civil war.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But I'm very concerned they're going to lose the House at a minimum.
You're talking about the Republicans losing.
Yeah, and so we have some serious problems ahead of us. Right now it's +5 according to the Cook report.
Which isn't bad, +5.
Well, the best case scenario for Republicans is maybe pick up 11, but the best case for the Dems right now is they pick up 5, which
Right.
would give them the majority, right, after the
Right.
seats they filled from the deaths and specials, I think.
Yeah, it's right on that
So
board.
it's
I
right
think
there.
they have a 4, something like that,
Yeah.
a margin. But and the first thing they're going to do, John, is impeach Trump. So what are you in a minute we have left about the younger set? Where are they? Are they as split as we think they are between the Charlie Kirk gang and the Marxists coming out of college?
It's not as split. It's definitely more radical. I feel like Generation Z, being in such close proximity and being on the ground for all of this, I feel like the idea that young people are so liberal comes from millennials mostly. Gen Z is markedly more right-wing and genuinely right-wing than a lot of the time.
Gen Z and the 75% of Gen Z that voted for Mamdani in New York City.
Well, if you're counting people who were born in New York, Mamdani wouldn't have won. So, I mean, this narrative that young people are overwhelmingly liberal is an aging narrative, in my opinion.
I completely disagree with that. I'm very active with Turning Point for many years. I worked with Charlie Kirk. I love Turning Point. I think there's a trend towards a DSA for young people. They cannot pursue the American dream.
I think there is, but I think you're both right. I think you have a big chunk of conservatives who are able to talk freely now, and you have that chunk who are going Marxist. But stay with us. We're going to talk more about this in 3 minutes.
Most people think they have options when searching for the best deals when they travel. But here's the shocking truth. 100% of the major travel agencies are owned by just 2 entities, Expedia and Booking Holdings. They claim to offer the lowest rates, but due to the hotel rate parity agreement, they all have the same pricing, limiting genuine competition. When you book through these sites, you act as your own travel agent, but the profits are going to organizations that don't support our patriot values. We cannot allow that to continue. So, we decided to make travel great again by starting a US-based travel membership platform, mypatriottravel.com. We are patriots helping patriots. Together, we can disrupt the travel industry by not spending our hard-earned dollars supporting the radical left. For just $29.99 per month, you gain access to true wholesale rates on travel, saving you on average 35% and up to 65%. Book as often as you like, with no limits. Keep your hard-earned dollars in your pocket and spend them on things you need and want to support. Go to mypatriottravel.com/TAFW and grab your membership today. mypatriottravel.com/TAFW. Making travel great again.
Hey, fellow patriots, it's Cindy Gross here, host of Right for America, from your favorite place, the America First Warehouse. You've seen me show on my show so many products from this country's #1 most patriotic manufacturer with close to 400 products. You need to exchange the products you use in your house to this company and make your dollars count in our country.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
It's
Me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Hey, folks, welcome back. Steve Levy here, your co-host of On the Right Side podcast. We come to you live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. at the America First Warehouse. This place is a museum for patriots. You have to get here if you're ever on Long Island. An amazing place where we have incredible guests from throughout the country. We pack this warehouse with 200 amazing patriots. It's a wonderful place to stop by. David Zare is my co-host from Real America's Voice. He stepped out for an important business call. We Are Live, after all. But John Rainey is here with me. John served as one of our assistants at the fiscally conservative think tank, Center for Cost-Effective Government, for which I serve as the executive director. And you're a recent graduate of the Master's Public Policy program at Stony Brook University. So you have your finger on the pulse, John, of America's youth. And we ended the last segment talking about what's going on with the youth. You know, a big chunk of it is heading down the road of socialism, and we talked about that in the first segment with Bill Maher's snippet, and we talk about how so many of them were voting for Mamdani over there. But we also have a big conservative element. That's the Charlie Kirk group. So
I would definitely like to touch on this. I mean, David Zare is not here to respond, but I wanted to continue that conversation that every time I hear that the youth are so leftist, the youth are so liberal, it's such an overwhelming socialist wave. That is just not the case. I mean, I'm on the ground. I'm a member of this generation. Mm-hmm. I see it firsthand. Mm-hmm. I see what it was like in 2016, and I see what it was like in the subsequent elections. I see what my generation is like, and every time I hear that it's so liberal, I'm hearing it from people born prior to and up to 1964. Right. You know, there's a certain cohort that I'm hearing it from, but I'm not seeing that on the ground. What I'm seeing on the ground is a genuine right-wing upswell. I'm seeing a disillusionment with the interventionist politics of Bush or like standard free market politics, and more of a concern with America as a place. You know, America as a place with ideas and a place has a history, and the preservation of America as a place that's not just a market. America is not just a strip mall, and I feel like that's a unique kind of politics that is emerging in the youth and is extremely prominent. You know,
let's talk about the polls. Let's talk about the polls on that, though, because the polls showed in 2024 a pretty significant shift, especially of young men, going more toward the Republicans. Now, they didn't overwhelmingly win on the Republicans, but they gained substantially from 2020 and 2022. So, but you still had women, younger women, voting overwhelmingly Democrat. And, you know, maybe that's because since the Obama years, they've been handed these pamphlets, The Life of Julia, how government will come in for women and take care of them from birth till death. That may be part of it. But I'm reading all of these polls where the young women and young men are very different, not just anatomically, of course, though some will deny that. But they're different philosophically, where even when it comes to marriage now and starting a family, it's the young men who are more conservative, who say they want to make that as a priority in life, and the young women are saying, no, I don't know if we want to go there. That's what the polls are showing. Are you seeing that out in your world?
So what I'm seeing is that the polls are failing to account that if you break it down by identity group, it's way different, right? Okay. If you take it as the whole of every voting person, it looks a certain way. But if you break it down by levels of education, by where people live, by heritage, by religion, all these things, you find that in certain cohorts, there's, they're much more similar. The divide is not as extreme when you account that it's mostly community by community, location by location. But what I'm seeing on the ground, this gender war, this gender divide thing, largely is I wouldn't call it a specter. It is real. In some cases, but I feel like this is an outgrowth of it's something called the rat utopia experiment, where you give. Have you heard of this?
No.
So it was the scientist Calhoun. He did this experiment where he gave a population of rats everything they ever wanted, everything they could ever need, the perfect utopia. And for a while, their population grew, and they had as much, and they would expand the enclosure as they needed. They never completely filled it up. At a certain point, there was strife arising seemingly from nowhere. Rats started turning on each other. Rats stopped having more rat babies, and they started.
Is that the human nature of rats? Is that what they're saying?
Well,
just rat nature?
There are some comparisons to be made. Like when there's like the certain elements of modernity that suppress the human spirit, then you have these bizarre behaviors where you have birth rates declining, and you have certain morals starting, and like there's these intense cultural divides. I mean, rats don't really have culture, but you did see them turning on each other, even though they had prosperity. So I feel like there are some lessons that we can take from that in terms of culture.
What prosperity does do is give you a chance to think more and to, take for granted your, privilege or your easy living. And that's why I think it's ironic that the biggest promoters of socialism, whether it's youth or not, are the well-off. It's the highly educated folks who are living off mommy and daddy's money or what have you. Like you look at all these trust fund baby Congress people now in office or governors now. They're the ones who've been living high on the hog thanks to the gains their parents made through capitalism, and then now through maybe a white guilt or some kind of guilt saying, oh, now we're going to spread it all out. And they're the new socialists, right? We're finding that it's the higher income, highly educated people who've gone through the Marxist propaganda of the university system who are most prone to become socialists.
So I see, in terms of the youth, one commonality is an exhaustion with the political norms that have governed society for a long time, on the left and on the right. Because it feels like they, what Marr said, living in an apartment where there's a strange hair on the soap and you're nearing middle age, something's gone wrong. So on the left and the right, they're turning towards unique forms of politics, and on the left, that's the Democratic Socialists, and they're extremely radical. But they do not represent the majority of especially American youth. Right. There's a huge right-wing upswell. I'm seeing that on the ground, and I've seen it on the ground for years
and
now.
I think a lot of it.
If you take into account, Mamdani, if people who were born in the city or born in America,
right.
If they were the ones who voted, then Mamdani wouldn't have won. So
I think this upswell
there's a bit more of an understated current here that can mitigate
they're feeling
that.
A lot of our youth, I'm seeing, are feeling more emboldened to speak up on the conservative side now. You always had conservative youth. But you were in college just a few years ago. I know when I was in college, I had to suppress some of my thoughts because I don't want that crazy radical professor giving me a D.
What I saw in college was, freshman year, I saw it in senior year when a bulk of Gen Z came into the college I was in. First 3 years, it was, not a lot of people cared about politics. The people who did were generally left-leaning, and then me and like a handful of other people were in the Republican club. And then all of a sudden, senior year, there was a huge shift. The people who cared about politics to the left became much more left. And all of a sudden, there was a huge section of people who cared about politics on the right, and they found themselves to the right of Reagan or to the right of George W. Bush, the traditional vanguards of conservative politics. And I think in order to really make use of that youthful energy, any losses on the Republican Party side is a failure to understand that base and capitalize on that forward momentum that's being offered to them.
I think a lot of the socialist movement going hand in hand with the upper middle class, upper class dormant, white, highly educated folks is that they don't really have to work for a living. When you just started your own business, okay, you don't like socialism because you don't want the government putting all these regulations in place that you can't grow your business that you started out of your garage. If you're a young man or woman on the career track, you don't want socialism that says the person who's working less than you or sacrificed less than you to get that big degree is now going to be able to jump ahead of you or get the same thing you did. But if you're some, lazy person through a trust fund to your mom and dad, you're not feeling the pressures of having to meet a payroll or, earning a bigger buck next week, or worried about how much tax is being taken out of your account. The new mayor of Seattle, 40-something years old, was still getting an allowance from their rich mommy and daddy. They have no concern. That's what Ma'am Danny is, too. He's got a rich mom and dad who paid him paid all his expenses. He's got no idea how the real economy works.
Well, a lot of it is the politics of grievance, be it economic or otherwise. And this is a political coalition of people who feel they are aggrieved, wanting revenge against the people that they feel that have aggrieved them. They're wrong, obviously, and a lot of these people are voting against their interests because they are themselves, of the identity, that the other people feel aggrieved by. But it's a fascinating thing. It's like on the left, with the Democratic Socialists, the only reason you see anybody going to them is because they're like, well, you're being stolen from, we're going to do something about it, we're going to seize power and use it. And then a lot of the institutions on the right are still like a very moderate, like, oh, we have to have these principles, and I'd say it's a lack of this feeling of action or this unwillingness to use power.
And I think a lot of that rich white. That rich white socialist trend is white guilt too. Oh, they've been living well on mommy and daddy's money, and why am I living so well? I want to spread it all out to everyone else.
There's certainly white people involved in that. I'd like to counter-signal the whiteness of it, but there are certain people. It's the reason we got here in the first place is because there were people who had that self-hate.
We're going toward a break.
Wow,
we want to talk. I want to talk about Elon Musk and what he uncovered on X. That a lot of these divisive tweets that you're seeing, they're not coming from within our borders. They're coming from other continents. We're going to talk about that in 3 minutes.
You noticed your money just doesn't stretch like it used to? Your paycheck feels lighter, and your savings aren't growing. The culprits? Inflation and increased money supply. They've both been quietly eating away at your purchasing power for years. Today, the dollar's value has dropped significantly. You feel it every time you spend money on goods and services. Back in 1965, $1 or an ounce of silver could buy you a gallon of milk. Fast forward to today. That same dollar barely buys a couple of coffee creamers, while an ounce of silver would get you 8 gallons of milk. Gold and silver have held their value for centuries. If you had 2,500 ounces of silver back in 1965, you could buy a brand new Ford Mustang. Today, 2,500 ounces of silver would buy you 2 Mustangs. Similarly, in the year 2000, 628 ounces of gold would buy a new $170,000 home. Today, 628 ounces would buy you a $2,500,000 home. The problem? 95% of Americans don't own physical gold or silver. They think it's too complicated and too expensive, but it doesn't have to be. We offer a membership program that allows you to buy gold or silver with as little as $1. You can buy fractional amounts, safely vault them, or have them delivered to your doorstep, and you can liquidate them whenever you want at the highest buyback price in the industry. Ready to protect your wealth and keep your purchasing power? Scan the QR code or go to tafw.soundmoney.com to learn more.
Live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
It's me, Joe the Box.
And I'm John the Blanket with the America First podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. The Fred Rubino podcast coming to you from the America First Warehouse.
Welcome to Right for America. Issues that unite, don't ignite.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to the Patriots podcast. Good evening, everyone. We live stream every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. right here from the America First Warehouse, the most patriotic venue in all the land.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast here at the America First Warehouse in Long Island, New York.
Welcome to Liberty's Cage, the podcast tearing down the walls of America's broken justice system.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Downey Jr. podcast. Be free, stay free.
Welcome to Suffocating in Suburbia with me, your host, Stevie GB.
Hey, folks, welcome back to our last segment here at the America First Warehouse. This is On the Right Side podcast, and I'm your co-host, Steve Levy, former Suffolk County Executive, New York State Assembly member, and the Executive Director of the Center for Cost-Effective Government. If you would like to follow us at the Center for Cost-Effective Government, just go to www.centerforcosteffectivegovernment.org. You will see all of the white papers that we've published over the years with the help of my friend John Rainey here to my right, who's co-hosting today. He's a graduate of public policy division of Stony Brook University. We've done white papers on how to save Social Security, how Medicaid is just exploding beyond its original intention, how charter schools and school choice can help revolutionize our country and raise people out of poverty.
And it's good stuff. I put them on the website. I should know.
Absolutely. We did one recently on why energy costs are so high in blue states such as New York, and the crazy Green New Deal zealots and how they've created poverty throughout the world and not really done anything to improve the environment. And finally, if you want to check my writings, I'm an inside writer for Newsmax. You can follow me at stevelevy.info and see all of my present and past writings. So, John, we were talking at the end of the last segment about Elon Musk and the amazing things he's done for transparency. First of all, he saved the conservative movement several years ago when he purchased Twitter and opened it up. So many conservatives were banned for just expressing their opinion when the liberals saying, no, it's not happening. He proved it was happening. And now he's just uncovered that so much of the strife you see that's posted on X, a lot of the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel comments, a lot of the anti-Trump stuff, a lot of the racial tension stuff.
I can't.
I just want to say it's coming not necessarily from the U.S., but designed by foreign enemies to take advantage of our freedoms to sow dissension within. And he said, here's where these texts are coming from. That's all he did. So for the first time, you're seeing, wow, all of this stuff about anti-Israel, it's not coming from Joe down the block in Hoboken. It's come from an organized, Palestinian group in the Mideast.
So I can't overstate how important the location feature's been on X. As someone who's been using Twitter since 2015, I've been through all the different phases it's been through, and it's been wildly different. When he bought it, all of a sudden a lot of people I followed, and me to a certain extent, we're unbanned, on shadow banned, free speech came back. But with this location feature, that's another step in the right direction. Topical right before Thanksgiving, a lot of these like native nationalism accounts, like all these like Native American and Indian pride accounts, like that go to the Mount Rushmore and you give them a finger and they say you're living on stolen land and just go on and on all about that. Turns out, a lot of them are out of Bangladesh.
Yeah, it's not some American Indian. It's some Indian from India.
It's someone pretending to be an American Indian.
Exactly.
And you got strife in a foreign country because.
And this is right out of the China playbook. The Chinese Communist Party. They go for the long game, and their goal, and the Russians do it too, is to just sow dissension with it, and it's done racially. It's done through class, and we see already, the FBI interceded the communist Chinese in trying to get mail-in ballots to try to distribute like 20,000 mail-in ballots to influence the election. So if you don't think this is happening, folks, this is what they do in communist China and Russia. They're plotting all the time how to sow dissension, and they've been using X. And it's not like Musk is going to kick him off because he's all for transparency, because we're at least going to know where you're sending this from.
And pursuant to this point, there's a great story. The word Bolshevik, do you know what the word Bolshevik means?
Well, it came from 1917, and the middle class and the working class, the proletariat and the Bolsheviks.
The literal meaning of the word Bolshevik. In Russian, it means majority. But there were two groups at the time who were
the red
communists.
and the whites?
You had no before that. Within the left, the Reds. You had the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks. Names not chosen by the Bolsheviks. They gave it to both parties. And the Mensheviks were like, oh, we need to win elections and implement socialism. And then the Bolsheviks were like, we need to kill people and take their money. And the Bolsheviks were the minority. But they called themselves the majority. And whenever they'd go to a meeting, they'd disperse. They're like 5 or 10 guys in a crowd, all around the place, and then cheer at moments so that they sounded like a grassroots upswell. They called themselves minority, or they called themselves the majority. They called their opponents the minority, even though it was an aversion of truth.
That's Orwellian speak, right?
Yeah, the manipulation of speech is one of their tactics. Look at Blue Sky, where a lot of the leftists fled to. It's a mess. It hardly functions. It's an echo chamber. Meanwhile, the true public forum of the modern age now is X. It's Twitter.
Well, he's really doing us such an incredible service, and there's
even
so
if
many
he's not
things
always
going
right about
on.
everything, he's done a great service.
There's
with
so
X.
many things going on in the world right now. As we speak, they're negotiating the Ukrainian deal. I thought the proposal that came out of President Trump last week was horrific. It looked like it was written by Putin, but there might have been a method to his madness we see now, because maybe what he was trying to do was just prod Russia to say, okay, put on paper what you want. And he finally got them to do that. So now he was able to take that, bring it over to the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are saying, well, we're obviously not going to accept that we're going to have our military preparedness and not be allowed to go over this limit, and we're not going to give Russia land that they didn't conquer. But it's a starting point. It looks like the Ukrainians are willing to say, we will settle on these things. Now it goes back to Russia. I'm not so confident the Russians are actually going to sign off on anything. But at least, Rubio is saying there might be some possibility here. Let's hope and pray. What do you give the odds for, as David Zare is rejoining us?
5%.
5%. All right. I'll give it like 20%.
Okay.
What do you think?
I'm more on the low end. I'd say it's not likely. It's a war of absolute tragedy. It's a catastrophic war for Ukraine and its future, and it's also a catastrophic war for Russia in its own right. They're both losing such huge amounts of young people. They really can't afford to lose.
Russia will play the long game and say, we'll just pay these people from all over the world. If we lose another million now, what the hell? We lost 20 million in World War II. Ukraine's running out of people, which is why they've got to try to settle something.
A million ain't what it used to be. But I got to tell you, every time a Democrat's president, the Russians took Afghanistan on Christmas Eve in 1979, killed the whole Kabul government in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They came in under Obama into Ukraine. They did it again under Biden.
They did go into Georgia with Bush in the waning days, but I think they felt that he's out of here now.
That was resolved,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But Russia will never give back Crimea. They will never give back Donetsk and one or two other regions.
Yeah, but they want more property than they're even holding now. There's no way Ukraine can go for that, nor should they. I mean, I've always said that, hey, Ukraine's got to be realistic. They're not going to take back the property they lost. So if they can get security and just do without that and start fresh, great, do it. But now this latest deal was a bad deal.
And they want the rare earth. The Russians, too.
And there's historic precedence to all
the
of
idea
this.
is we're supposed to get that rare earth.
Yeah, but they already took over a lithium field, which was a big one. Lithium's not as important as the other rare earth minerals, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's a historic context to all this. Russia's
years.
entire raison d'etre is like getting to the Carpathian Mountains because they lay on a flat plain. Traumatized by the Mongols is no real natural defense besides horse.
But the point is, are we going to let them? When they engage in that kind of aggression, you do have to push back. And fortunately, we have brave Ukrainians who've been willing to do so.
Who are 59 years old.
And that's why they're exhausted, because they've just run out. They realize, as Trump said months ago, you don't have the cards, and they don't have the cards. But then again, Russia's been at this war for 3.5 years, and they've still only gained 20% of that land, and they've lost 1 million people. So how long can they go with this? They don't really care as to how many people die, but at some point internally, there has to be some pushback.
But I think Zelensky's days are number 2.
Well, I think I do too.
He's got some scandal.
Well, but beyond that, at some point you got to have an election. We went through wars. We didn't stop elections. England went through wars. They didn't stop elections. You got to have elections.
He may have amassed $100 million.
Well, let's see. But listen, I want Ukraine to prevail here, because anytime we can weaken Vladimir Putin with someone else's troops, it's a good day for America. All right, we got a minute left to go here, David. Is there any final topics or thoughts you want to bring to our listening audience?
Yes, and even after you argue with your crazy uncle at the Thanksgiving dinner table, and you're probably right and he's wrong, you got to give him a great big hug before he leaves.
I like that. Even Bill Maher said that, who's a lib, but saying, you lefties, stop with your intolerance. Be more open-minded.
You got to give him a hug before you send him out to the waiting car like Tessio outside. But still hug him.
Then he's going to get it. John, any final thoughts here?
Well, the war in Ukraine is a huge tragedy, a waste of life on both sides. And in terms of the modern political atmosphere in the United States, I think that there's a lot more hope for the youth. There's a lot more things to look forward to. The old dynamic of the youth being more liberal than the older generations is not as crystal clear as it once was. And I say that as someone who's on the ground right now and sees it.
I'm on the ground all over the country. There's about an 18-20% increase in conservatives, which is a big victory. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a turn.
I feel like
and they helped Trump win North Carolina.
I feel like how it translates to electoral victories is just a failure to mobilize the base.
We started this show today with Bill Maher talking about how socialism is so horrible and how really life is pretty good here in our free market economy. So let's give thanks for that in this Thanksgiving. Let's give thanks for the abundance that we have. Things can always be better, but they could always be worse. And the things that we have, like family, we have to treasure forever. We'll see you next week. And on the right side, happy Thanksgiving. David, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, John.
Yeah.